The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has the unenviable task of following what many consider to be one of the greatest games in recent memory. When it launched in 2017, Breath of the Wild revolutionized the long-standing franchise formula in innumerable ways, giving players the biggest world the series has ever featured and mechanics that allowed them to experiment with the game's physics. After spending more than an hour playing some early moments of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the answer to how this game plans on following such a tough act is a bit clearer. One of the first pieces of concrete information players had on Tears of the Kingdom was the existence of the Sky Islands. These floating landmasses serve as new areas to explore, housing new secrets to uncover and fresh enemies to encounter. These, along with various new caves, give more content to arguably the best part of Breath of the Wild, the exploration. However, after my time with Tears of the Kingdom, that's no longer the most exciting part of this anticipated sequel for me. Make no mistake, I'm still exuberant about the prospects of more enticing exploration in an expanded post-Calamity Hyrule, but after going hands-on with the title, it's Link's new abilities that have me champing at the bit for more time with this game. My time, which was mostly spent exploring the various Sky Islands, let me barely scratch the surface of what the mechanics like Fuse, Ascend, Recall, and Ultra Hand will allow players to do as they adventure through the world in Tears of the Kingdom. Before I get a controller in my hands, I watch a brief gameplay demo from a member of Nintendo Treehouse. I immediately recognized the area from the gameplay demo by series producer Eiji Aonuma a few weeks ago. Once again, the demonstrator is tasked with building a boat out of the 3 logs to cross a river. Using Link's Ultra Hand ability, he does just that. However, he initially attaches one of the logs incorrectly. It's no problem. By shaking the right stick back and forth, you can undo the last Ultra Hand attachment that you made. Once he has the logs arranged the way he wants, he places them in the lake, and I get ready for a familiar sight. However, to my surprise, this demoer doesn't use the nearby fans. Instead, he goes into a menu, which is quick access using the D-pad, and selects from a list of Zonai devices. In this menu, I spot the fans we saw before, as well as a portable pot, which is a single-use item that can be deployed whenever you want to cook a meal. The demoer finally lands on the Zonai device he was looking for, a rocket. Using the L button, he brings up a radio menu which houses all of Link's abilities, and he selects Ultra Hand. He attaches the rockets to the boat and whacks one with Link's weapon. This activates all the Zonai devices attached to the vehicle, in this case, 2 rockets. The rockets pack a lot more punch and are a bit less even than the fans that we saw in Aonuma's demo, and the force sends the boat soaring over the river. As the rocket runs its course, an energy bar appears near the bottom of the screen. This is a new resource, a secondary stamina bar focused specifically on Zonai devices. For devices like rockets, which burn out after a short burst, you don't have to worry about remembering to deactivate them. However, for Zonai devices like the fans, which have a much longer lifespan, you could easily use up all your energy if you don't hit them again to turn them off once you're done. In the trailers, we've seen Link use Recall on a fallen rock and ride up to the sky, as well as Ascend to reach an island that floats above him. In this instance, I battle through a bokoblin camp en route to the Sky Islands. While my swordplay is a bit rusty, it's been a couple years since my last Breath of the Wild playthrough, I can hold my own. However, things get a little bit easier when I start remembering to use Link's new abilities. That is perhaps my biggest takeaway from my time with Tears of the Kingdom. This game is going to require me to rewire my brain when it comes to every facet of this title, whether it be exploration, puzzle solving, or combat. Initially, I reverted to my strategies used in Breath of the Wild, and while they sometimes worked out okay, it's clear that there is an easier way when you embrace the new abilities. My time with Tears of the Kingdom was filled with, "Oh wait, I know what to do," moments as the new mechanics began feeling like second nature. In this bokoblin camp, a moblin spots me and hurls an explosive barrel my way. Then, before I can even react, a giant spiked ball rolls me over, knocking out my remaining hearts and triggering a game over. After some somber reflection on the loading screen, I think about what I could have done differently. Sure, I could have used stealth or dodged the explosive barrel, but what about using some of Link's new abilities? I decide to be stealthy to a point, then launch an all-out offensive using the new tools at my disposal. This time, I get within throwing distance of the moblin, and then wait for him to spot me. He once again tosses the barrel my way, but I freeze time with recall, select the airborne barrel, then pull the old return to sender. The barrel flies back towards him and explodes, not only hitting him, but also the surrounding explosive barrels, which also blow up, throwing the moblin off the ledge. Thinking the situation is under control, I storm the gates of the camp, only to realize there are a ton of bokoblins in there waiting for me. Not only that, but they're being riled up by a massive bokoblin with a horn. I relocate some of the explosive barrels using Ultra Hand and fuse a flame property onto my arrows to try and thin the herd, but it's just not enough, and I decide to live to fight another day. I use a new way to get to the Sky Islands, which was housed within the bokoblin camp, and before I know it, I'm paragliding to the starting point of the challenge Nintendo issued. I notice a natural progression I could take to get to the designated island, so I start island hopping. The first landmass features a box that is suspended in midair. The Zonai design seemed to explain why it doesn't obey standard gravity rules, but I decide to use the floating box to my advantage. By using Ultra Hand, I attach 2 of the rockets from my inventory and blast as close as I can to the next island. To get the rockets aimed in the right direction, I need to rotate them, which is done using the D-pad. Doing so feels slightly finicky, but I rarely had too difficult of a time getting things just right. Soon, I arrive on an island with 2 large concrete slabs separating 2 pools of water. I lift the slab with Ultra Hand, draining the water, but it falls back down once I release it. Using a nearby log, I hastily try to connect the 2 with Ultra Hand, but it breaks the attachment. I think the weight of the slab is just too much. However, by using recall, I can lift the slab back up for long enough that I can position the log in such a way that the weight is evenly distributed and the Ultra Hand connection holds. This drains the pool and allows me to access a treasure chest at the bottom of the reservoir. To get to the next island, I'll need to build something, but my time is starting to get a little short. Thankfully, Tears of the Kingdom includes a streamlined way to build with Ultra Hand, but unfortunately that's all I can say about it during this preview. I build a glider with fans attached, but my placement was just a little off, and the glider spins out of control almost immediately, sending Link falling off the island. Thankfully, I opened his paraglider just in time to reach the wall of that Sky Island. I climbed back to the top of the island and tried again. This failure made me realize the joys of experimentation, and even failure, that will take place in Tears of the Kingdom. I can already tell I am going to accidentally kill Link in so many spectacular ways, and I cannot wait to see the videos of everyone else's creations, successes, and failures. In fact, that was one of my favorite parts of my time with Tears of the Kingdom. The comparing of notes. There was a handful of other media members on hand for my demo session, and while the switch loads were swapped out between sessions, we all compared notes of how we approached different puzzles. While some of us took similar approaches, others succeeded using completely different methods and strategies. If a demo this closed off spawns this much discussion and room for experimentation, what's going to happen when millions upon millions of players are let loose into the open world of Hyrule? Those water cooler moments may very well come to define Tears of the Kingdom. As I make my approach to the destination Nintendo gave me, I am greeted by one final puzzle, which involves using Ultra Hand to manipulate a smaller mechanism to rotate a large platform. You can do this using gyro controls, but I opted to use the D-pad the same way you would when positioning a Zonai device to attach to a vehicle. Using a combination of Ultra Hand movements and the recall ability, I get the platform to rotate in such a way that brings me to the final island, which gives me a key item needed to unlock a new area. I can't go into any more detail right now, but suffice it to say, there's a lot about Tears of the Kingdom that we still don't know. Leaving my hands-on demo, I'm equal parts excited and intimidated by what The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom brings to the table. On one hand, I cannot wait to see just how clever and nearly game-breaking we can get using these various mechanics. It's truly amazing to see Nintendo react to the community's creativity in Breath of the Wild with a sequel that leans into how players use the mechanics in ways they probably never even thought of. In giving players even more tools and just as many new problems to solve, Nintendo is showing it's not afraid of letting players loose in a massive open world with perhaps the most open-ended mechanics it has ever implemented. Still, there's a part of me that has a familiar sense of worry that my brain won't keep up. It's a similar feeling to what I had when I first fired up Portal 2, another one of my favorite games of all time. Tears of the Kingdom brings a similar sense of brain-breaking innovation, even in the early hours I experienced. I can't tell you how many times I looked at something with bewilderment, only to think of a new way to use Recall, Ascend, Fuse, or Ultra Hand to create new interactions. There may somehow be even more Eureka moments in Tears of the Kingdom than there were in Breath of the Wild, and that's remarkable to even think about. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom feels like a true evolution of one of the most beloved games of the century, and this demo didn't even touch on the story and featured only minimal combat. I'm excited to learn more about how all these elements work in concert. May 12th cannot get here soon enough. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel for looks at all the hottest new releases. You can also hear more about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and every other major Nintendo release through the All Things Nintendo podcast, which I host. It's available on all major podcast platforms with a new episode hitting each Friday. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.